The amount of times that I've switched from who's who in the zoo is probably astronomical. I've collectively have probably nailed it with who is who, and then I'll change my mind, and then I'll think, well, maybe it's this person, and then I'll change it. Maybe it's that. Maybe Steve is this guy, or maybe he's that guy. Maybe he's really Jacob Israel behind a mask, behind a bodysuit. Maybe it's really, technically, it's like it's his show. But then John was on the island of Patmos, and John, the Revelator, the one that gets the revelation from Christ himself. But I have also seen it as that could possibly be the spirit, the voice of Christ is talking in John's head. And maybe John is the same as Christ. Or maybe he's separate because the voice is talking to John about the churches. And so he has a voice that he hears that's showing him stuff. But at the same time, in your own head, if you're John the Revelator, and these revelations are coming to you just through various people, and then it's like a shuffling board. The various people in the world on this table, this puzzle. There's a bunch of people, and there's a bunch of puzzle pieces, and you have the right amount of pieces in the puzzle to fill that the puzzle. And but it isn't that easy to find the pieces and put them exactly where they fit. So that's what I feel like I have. I have the puzzle pieces, and I'm trying to label those pieces so I know where they fit. Like in A fits in 1, and B fits in 2, and C 3, and so on and so forth. Because I've learned that life just ain't what the hell it is. You were told it's not. It's just not. And people are covering their heads. They're covering their heads with face masks. So when the Bible talks about you dishonor God, covering your head, praying and covering your head, there's quite a few different meanings for that. One misinterpretation is that you're not allowed to wear a hat on your actual head or any covering. That's the laziest, bottom of the barrel misinterpretation that anybody can use. So that's why I did my video back 4 years ago wearing like 7 or 8, 9, 10 different hats. And then the perverted interpretation is that your head, which is the other head that you think with, that what men think with, that head isn't to be, you're not supposed to bow your head down. But it doesn't say anything about being wrapped in any kind of linen or anything, so it's okay if your head is up but not down as you're praying. And then you're good to go if you're inverted. So that's the perverted interpretation of your head being covered, wrapped. The fact that just because you're praying upwards and not bowing your head, you're now good to go because you've been inverted. So the landscape of the United States map, it helps with literally putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Because all I'm doing is going by, well, who's up there near Michigan that looks like that sea creature with the really long nose that represents lying, a liar, Pinocchio, a liar. Well, those Jews that say they are, but they are not, and they're found to be liars, like from the synagogue of Satan. Who is Satan? Well, Satan is a liar. He's a murderer and a liar from the beginning. Who do I know on YouTube that lies? Like outright lies. Not that everybody lies. Thank God be the only one that doesn't. But the liar lying directly about Rob and Henry Tees, well, that would be Stephen James DeShawn. So out of everybody that I've ever came across and talked directly to, FaceTime, text messages, phone calls, hours upon hours of communication directly to somebody like that, and then for him to turn around and lie about me, that's like Gog and Magog. When that serpent was bound during the crucifixion, and then it was, I don't know if they ever tied that together. Maybe it's just my interpretation. The only time Satan could possibly have been bound is when he met his match and then crucified him and twisted the word of how Christ was crucified in the spiritual, trying to get you to believe it's a literal thing. And when Satan is loose for that little season, for however long this season is that we're in at this exact moment, however long it is until this millennium age, 1,000 year reigning with Christ for one day, a day is 1,000 years. Don't be ignorant of that one thing. He goes out and deceives the nations. And then my issue has been, I look at certain people and I say, nah, they're still evil intent in their heart. And then I look at others like, man, they really definitely changed. And so what I'm seeing is good and evil in everybody and the vapors of it. So I've been at it for almost 6 years. I'm gonna have a difference of opinion from time to time because I sense it with the good in the people and then the evil still, and then the games, the tricks, because Satan is still loose. He was already bound. He's loose right now. He's deceiving you at this exact moment. And Stephen James DeShawn is one of those Gog and Magog pieces of the puzzle that I'm trying to put in place. Because when you see the landscape on the United States map, and you have Adam at the top with the wounded head, and then there's this scarlet colored woman that I liken it to on right in that Michigan area, right where the belly is of that serpent that's on his knees crawling on his belly for all the days of his life. then I realized that the biggest liar on the planet that I know of is Stephen James Shawn. And he's up there in Michigan. It's right underneath of Adam's nose. There's a male-female system. There's an Adam, there's an Eve. Adam was asleep. It looks like the map has Eve next to him, and she's riding the beast. And within inside of her host body is the beast that she rides. And it's a scorpion stinger, just like the end of the Florida tip where Homer Simpson's hair comb over RoboCop is. For the first time, I've seen green come over his head. Draining the swamp down in Ephesus. Jacob and Esau. So let's see, what was that? Esau is always looked at as the bad guy. Jacob is the good guy. But really, Jacob is the supplanter, the deceiver, which is similar to the serpent, because the serpent is the one trying to steal the birthright, trying to take the kingdom by force, just like the days of John the Baptist, like Jacob. Same thing. Trying to take the birthright of Esau, the ruddy, the hairy guy. Like the hairy guy. My dad. Looks like my dad's arm. So Jacob is the heel catcher. So let me get this straight. Satan is meant to bruise the heel of the believers of Christ to keep them from walking straight. But Christ wounds the head of the serpent with his foot, but damages, destroys, breaks the authority that Satan once had, and that's why he was bound. That's why Christ bound Satan. An angel came from heaven with a great chain in his hand, the key of David, and binding the serpent. And when you look at the landscape, which helps put the pieces of the puzzle together, in my view, the armor bearer that's on fire, 4, 3, 2, 1, before the fire, 4, 3, 2, 1, before the fire, the king beforehand, that's standing on the stand of the seashore with the king in front of him, and then the armor bearer is looking directly at the Aquarian sea creature that is in the head of Adam. Which seems like the Pet Goat 2. The Pet Goat 2 is fulfilled in literal, scripted, already planned out, and then in spirit it gets fulfilled, which means it becomes real. So it reminds me of that serpent in the garden tormenting the egghead in Pet Goat 2, because he's basically asleep, eyes closed, well, open but delusional. And then when that egghead rises up and wakes up, that serpent takes off because he no longer has power. And then at the end, as he's standing on the boat, he finally wakes up. The crown of thorns disappears from his head, because that's the risen Christ who has conquered death and destroyed the temple. So the temple collapses. So when you got Jacob and Esau, I've looked at it before. I'm thinking, Stephen James a few times was on Jacob Israel's live stream calling him a deceiver and a liar, and he is older than Jacob, so which would mean, according to the script, Esau, the hairy Esau, Esu, Christ there, Emmanuel, would be trying to act as if he's Esau and then Jacob as Jacob. But then what if Stephen James was actually Jacob for real, trying to take the birthright of Esau, his older brother, and maybe even born at the same hospital or switched, from a different one. Maybe one of them was born at the inn and the other one was born at a stable. Could have happened like that. But then, according to the script, before I even showed up, you have the Esau type, which reminds me of Steve Benoon, and then Jacob being Stephen James, because he's really the deceiver, the serpent, the liar, the heel catcher, the trying to take somebody else's position, getting you to worship him, and then in the end you're screwed because you thought he had the power when he doesn't, that Esau has, his older brother, Esu, Emmanuel. The real Christ representative in the system as Adam. So maybe it was Eve trying to take the birthright. I'm not certainly sure, but Adam and Eve, just like being together as separate individuals, and then Adam has Eve within inside of him because the bone was taken out, the rib, to make Eve from Adam, to have them, the one person, become, the two become one, the male and female in the same body. So there's that, Adam and Eve. And all I'll do is just throw stuff up against the wall, whatever sticks, whatever's close towards that horseshoe, because it also looks like a kind of like a door. Like when you find that door, that knocking, that big knock handle on doors, that, like, in other words, Christ is knocking, and if any man heareth, and open up the door. So that General Hospital where I was born at, in Bartow, Florida, where I was born, and then I wind up having a burnt toe, like a bar code from being born in Bartow. The front of that, where I did a video earlier or yesterday, but it was drafted, and so I have to upload it when I go back home. It was part 2 because I accidentally pushed stop. Where the man walking, because Steve Benoon was going over the interpretation of what Ezekiel was trying to explain, and then what Moses was finishing off with. So with Moses finishing that off, and Stephen Benoon was showing you that or talking about the man walking with the wheel, like the wheel where the man's walking is right between the man walking's legs. The Hitler-looking guy on the hospital, the landscape, when you zoom from Google Maps and open up the heavens. So it also looks like I'll have to examine it more, but I think it may be a door knocker too, because that's the door. Because it's like finding that spot and knocking on that door for the people that were all involved. You're knocking on that door. You're letting them know that you've seen it, that you're there. Here's the door. No man can open it except for Christ. He can open it, and no one's going to shut it except for him when it's time to shut the door. So you got your You got your Jacob Israel, who, you know, at times it seems like he's just he's obviously he can see what's going on. It's just a matter of how much do you believe, and then how long do you take it till you submit. So at some point in time, I've come across everybody. Here's what the issue is. I've come across all these people who, in all likelihood, had, whether it was evil intent or following their script with no real belief in the Bible because it wasn't manifesting in real life, going from that feeling to, over the years of me working on them, seeing a difference, an actual conversion of the heart. And then I'll point that out, and then some people I'll feel like I still see evil, especially if John DeClick's channel has two different twins talking, one of them being evil, one of them being good, or it's just one of them with a double mind, playing both roles, like being evil at first and then being good next, because it's the second half, it's time to put away the old man and become the new. So there's that quick observation of Jacob and Esau, the three different ones. And then where does Joe Biden fit into all this, sniffing my head, the back of my ear, and in my baby picture? And then where does that place Jonathan Click in the scenario? And then is there two of them over there and they're playing out the same thing, the Jacob and Esau, between the both of them on that channel? And then, but beforehand it was the House of Judah scripted Jacob and Esau years in the past. Because either way, whoever Satan is, the serpent in the garden, the true serpent in the garden. I know John DeClick, see, the thing is, he points at himself so much as being the serpent. But I feel like if you call him the serpent, then he'll get mad at you and tell you he has all your metadata, dirtbag. But that may be the evil twin still, or the one acting like he's evil, like he didn't get, like he's not converted. Or, you know, you take it all the way to the end. So what I'm saying is, if you point to yourself as the serpent as much as he does, am I willing to conclude that he's the serpent in the garden? I don't know, because Stephen James is a bold-faced liar. Yes, is everybody lying? Of course. If you have a YouTube channel and you have another person that has access to your moniker and to be able to upload a video and act like he's you, but you're not directly saying it, well, yeah, you're a liar. You're lying. The person on your channel's lying because you're being deceptive. You're trying to get people to believe something that ain't true. Let every man be a liar. And that's why I go back and forth, because I sense this one spirit and then I sense a different one on the same channel, and it becomes irritatingly annoying that I even have to feel that way, as I'm the highest trained reviewer on everybody's channel. So who's who in the zoo? Me? Well, I was born in a zoo. I was born in a zoo landscape where there's a bunch of animals being drawn into the ark there. One eagle, one calf, one man walking with the wheel between his leg with the flames of fire like torches coming out. So crazy that they used that landscape at the hospital that apparently I was born at. I'm just going to lean more towards everybody is converted, and it happened a few years ago, and but everybody knows that the script still needs to be played out, and the Gog and Magog war is meant to deceive those, even the very elect, if it's possible. So I'm even having those issues of discerning at times, but I have to realize the amount of evidence is too much to deny of any sort. And you know, all of you know the Bible inside and out, and you're part of it, playing it out. So you know the end result, which means you fall in line with the conversion part, but still makes it seem like your evil intent continually, and you're going to kill and murder and destroy everybody if they don't believe who you are. So everybody's basically already converted, and even Satan knows, because he was bound and he was shut up, and he's loose to lie to all nations to get you to believe that the conversion hasn't taken place already.